Welcome to the Crypto Campfire. Well, damn, Jackie, they can't control the weather. Mitch and the Professor, featuring special guest Adam Barlam.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Crypto Campfire podcast. This is the Professor.
And Mitch.
And today we're going to be speaking with Adam Barlam, the founder of Bravocoin. But before we start talking to Adam, let's grab a crypto news from the Crypto Jet.
Thanks, Professor. Hello, Crypto Campfire listeners, and welcome to the Crypto Currency News in a Flash with the Crypto Gent. Block.one puts $200,000 up for grabs in Puzzle Smart Contract Challenge. Salesforce and Samsung add to $35 million investment in digital asset, and Binance Launchpad reveals WazRX sale results. That's the Crypto Currency News in a Flash with the Crypto Gent, and it's back to you, Professor.
Thanks a lot, Crypto Gent. So Mitch, how's your weekend going?
It's going good so far. I'm in the shop working, making some drawer boxes for some cabinets that I'm making, and yeah, it's been a pretty productive day. It's going good. It's going good. How about yourself?
I've just been fighting with my computer all morning, you know, typical. Trying to make it do things that it shouldn't have to do. So
right, who's winning?
I usually end up victorious after several hours of effort, so we'll get there.
Right. So let's get this thing rolling. Let's bring Adam in.
Adam, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good to have you.
Thanks, man.
So to kick this off, we'll just go like we always do with the campfire, right out of the gate. How did you get into crypto, and what got you hooked on it?
All right. I first heard about Bitcoin and blockchain in 2011. I've always been into like Linux and like open source software and like the open source community. And that's actually how I started my job in the industry. I was a Linux system administrator. I was a web developer, and I was working at this time in 2011 for a financial newsletter publisher. So these guys used to publish like penny stock newsletters and like option newsletters and some scammy newsletters, I guess you could say. And, you know, we had this penny stock division, and penny stocks are highly volatile. A similar demographic, I guess, the people who invest in penny stocks would potentially be interested in Bitcoin because of its volatility. So in about 2011, I remember, we're doing these penny stock newsletters, and I saw Bitcoin go from $6 to $36. And I went into a meeting, with our group, and I said, hey guys, have you heard of this Bitcoin thing? And like I explained to them, it's this, internet money, it's been super volatile and it's gone up 600%. And I said, I think it's like the perfect thing to introduce our audience to. And they like laughed me out of the room. They're like, no, we're not going to cover this funny internet money. That's just ridiculous. No one's going to be interested in it. And I brought it up like two subsequent times in two separate meetings. And both times, again, they laughed me out of the room saying, no, we don't want to work with this. We're not going to mess with it. And I've told the story before. I think it's super funny because had we started covering Bitcoin in 2011, we would have had wallets, we would have, messed around with transactions, trading, so on and so forth. All those people in that room would probably be retired by now, but they didn't listen and they decided not to go down that route. So yeah, that was my first foray into Bitcoin. I unfortunately didn't buy anything because they kind of like talked me out of it. Like, no, we're not going to do anything. So I was like, well, whatever, I'm not going to mess with it then. So yeah, that was like 2011. And then I left that company. I only worked there for about a year. And then I didn't really hear about it or start picking it up again until I worked at GoDaddy. So I worked for GoDaddy for about 3 years. And I had a friend who was a data center tech there, actually. And he was super into Bitcoin. And he had gotten in around like 50 or 60 bucks. And it had hit 200. And then I started getting interested. I was like, wow, this is quite an increase from before. So I bought a couple of coins in 2013, and then like I sold them after they hit like 600, like super quick. I didn't hold on to them. This guy who I was, who had originally gotten me into it, it went up to like $600. It was like a 10x increase, and I was like, you should get out too. And he didn't. He held on to his coins. He's like, no, I'm gonna stick it out and ride the wave. And he didn't. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but I think to this day he still holds on to those coins. So I can almost credit him to like really getting me like back into it. But yeah, that was when I started getting back into it. It was like 2013. And then, just like minor, a coin here, a coin here. I wasn't nothing really big. And then really got into it in 2016 when we started developing Bravocoin.
Awesome. What inspired Bravocoin?
So So I initially had a software as a service business for a couple of years. I did a lot of SEO for it. So we were always highly ranked on Google. I didn't really need Yelp for ads or marketing or advertisements. It was kind of just like a nice to have thing where I had like a profile with ratings and rankings because everyone needs a Yelp profile. So I was actually working with my business partner who's Hispanic, and we actually initially wanted to export the concept of Yelp to Spanish-speaking countries because they weren't really doing a very good job out there. So they have like Yelp in like Mexico and these other countries, but the letter Y in Spanish is an E sound, so it's like Yelp, and it doesn't mean anything. So really, they didn't. I don't think Yelp initially thought about this global marketing strategy or execution plan initially. And they were really only targeting the United States. So initially, we came out with this, or we were developing a platform called Reseña, which was a centralized review platform targeting Spanish-speaking people. And we were working on that for about 6 months or so. And this was late 2016. So we were working on it for about 6 months. And late 2016, I called up Lorena, my business partner, one day, and I said, I have this radical idea. I want to shift our entire backend to blockchain. And Lorena had no clue what blockchain was at that point in time. She's like, what's this blockchain concept? Explain this to me. So I told her what we were going to do. We were going to move it over to blockchain, and that this was going to enable us to do rev sharing with the participants on the network, and formulate like kind of like a rev share social network that's revolving around reviews. And, I thought it was going to be a hard sell because we were going down this other path for, Spanish-speaking countries. And I said, if we move this to blockchain, not only can we do rev sharing, but then, we can get around some of the issues that with centralization and manipulation. And, the biggest thing that we really wanted to do was that we felt that, all these users are giving away their content and their reviews for free to Yelp and to Amazon and to Google and all these different companies. And these companies are making billions and billions of dollars on this data and not rewarding or compensating, the users for providing that data and that information. And that's kind of how we spun off Bravocoin. We're like, let's create a review platform on blockchain where users are actually compensated for their data and their input. And that's how it all started.
Sweet. I love using it myself.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that was our goal was, from the very beginning, our goal was to create an easy to use application that had, crypto and blockchain hooks, but was, but the casual user wasn't aware of it. So, I come from, I have a technological background, but, Lorena is not technologically, oriented really. And I deal with a lot of people who aren't really high tech users. And that's the issue with crypto in this industry is that a lot of the applications, a lot of the software, a lot of even like the concepts are too complex for the average user to pick up. So, that was our goal, was to create an application that allows the casual users, one who's not familiar with crypto, one who's not familiar with blockchain, to kind of transition and segue into this ecosystem, and kind of dip their toes into the water without, spending their own money and being concerned that they're going to put, $100 in Bitcoin or an altcoin that's going to drop. Instead, they can invest a little bit of their time and earn crypto instead. And we think that's a much better value proposition, a much better way to kind of lure the masses into, into this new industry and this new ecosystem, utilizing those types of methods.
User interface is really like the big brick wall right now between where we're at now and some form of mass adoption. I mean, there's a lot of little technical hurdles that we've got to face too on the scalability side, but until users can come in and just operate seamlessly in the blockchain space with whatever they're doing and not have to actually realize that they're using a blockchain, we're not really going to make it that far. And I mean, it all comes with time. It's a lot of little pieces that all have to come together.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So these users are used to using Facebook. They're used to using Instagram, Yelp, these easy to use applications that are very user intuitive, and are very forgiving to the user if they screw something up or they mess up. Currently the current state of blockchain, the current state of crypto apps are not very forgiving to the average or the novice user. You lose your keys, you screw something up, you lose your crypto. And that's kind of scary for the average person. So, we have a lot of work to do in that arena to ensure that, there's a seamless and, frictionless transition to them to go from these traditional Web 2.0 platforms to the new Web 3.0 and emerging blockchain technologies.
Web 3.0 is going to be blockchain takes it to the next level when you start looking at the multiple uses of a blockchain itself. Because, okay, so it's cool that it can be a currency, but at the base level, blockchain is just a different type of data storage. So we've now found this very secure, unmanipulatable, more or less, data storage mechanism that integrates directly with itself in a way of being a currency, so that we can have these machine-to-machine microtransactions and things like that we're headed towards. And it all enables it like on the same platform, and you don't have that third-party integration crap that you have to deal with in the world we have right now, because we are taking an antiquated system and building little things to piece it all together. And it works. You know, we have a pretty well-functioning society, sort of, on the digital money side compared to what it could have been. Mm-hmm. But this is the next step to take it to the next paradigm and have everything to work the way it should be, and actually have it set up truly for a digital system.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, it's interesting what you said about, about blockchain and the different applicational use cases that you have for it. So you have like Bitcoin, which is like the first use case, in terms of strictly currency, but now you're start to see, other use cases where blockchain is coming into play in terms of like smart contracts, in terms of, social media. And, I believe that you're going to start seeing blockchain is going to affect about 95% of the industries that are out there in one form or another.
So what is it that you see crypto as more than anything? Do you see it as a speculative instrument right now, or do you see it truly as the currency?
I see it from both angles. So I think it kind of depends upon, first of all, where you're living. So for like someone in Venezuela, someone in Turkey, even in Chile now, these people who are going through hyperinflation and real serious issues with their fiat currency, I view Bitcoin and I view cryptocurrency as an actual alternative to their failing currencies that are having issues now. In terms for, like the United States and maybe for, first world countries or countries that are banked, I feel it's more speculative right now. I think eventually we're going to get to the point where it's not as speculative and it's more used as a currency. But for right now, I would say like here, in the majority of first world countries, it definitely is speculative. But, what I think a lot of people don't realize is that you have half the world that's unbanked. You have half the world that's living under dictators, and stealing, people's wealth and their citizens' wealth. That's just going to be a natural succession for all these nations to move over to a system like this.
Exactly. Using crypto and using it as the currency that it is half the battle, trying to get people to understand that, in order to really get this ecosystem rolling, it has to be used as such, for it to be seen as a currency. Mm-hmm. It's got to be used as a currency more, I think.
Absolutely. And that's that's something that goes against the whole like ethos of like the hodlers, and don't spend your coins. And that, I'm amongst the mindset that, yeah, it's great. You should be holding on to it and ensuring that, you have it moving forward. But if people aren't spending it, if people aren't, creating transactions, we're not going to get the adoption that's necessary. There needs to be transaction and commerce going forth with it to ensure that we have, mass adoption.
Exactly. And I mean, for myself, and I think it's a great idea, but I find that if I'm going to go spend $200 or if I'm going to spend $100 on, say, a plane ticket, or something else that I can use crypto to pay for, why not go and say, buy that crypto and then go pay for it with it? I'm going to spend it anyways. So why not just transact it? I mean, yeah, it's an extra step and there's a little bit of a fee, but it aids in the speed up of, so to speak, of adoption for it. Getting it into that ecosystem. Absolutely.
And I do the same thing. So if there's an opportunity for me to pay with crypto, I'll go ahead and I'll use my debit card, or I'll use my, my ACH, and I'll purchase it right on the fly and then send it over there. And yeah, like you said, there may be like a little bit of a fee or something like that. But, I'm all about adoption, and I want to, further this ecosystem. So any which way that I can help, any transaction, whatever it is, helps to further adoption.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's the total life of an early adopter of any technology. You got to be able to, or be willing to accept those small inconveniences for the greater good of the new technology that you're excited about. I mean, if we didn't accept the early days of the smartphone, we would never have what we have today. We'd still be on flip phones, right? So at some point, somebody's got to go out there and go through the damn mud and, help improve it to the next level so that the general public can come in and start using it. So it's important that we all play our part.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, it's my father. You know, he had a sales position, a managerial sales position when the credit card merchant accounts and processing first came out. You know, with like the sliders where they put your credit card down with like the carbon copy paper. You know, they slide it back and forth and take a copy. You know, and then they had like a modem that would go in and dial and verify the credit card number. So he actually worked for a company called Peachtree Merchant Services or Peachtree Bank Card, and they were actually the inventors of like credit card transactions utilizing like that machine and, you know, doing the dial up to verify, you know, the card was valid. And it was I remember that same struggle to onboard people into the system because everyone was using personal checks back then. And they were very hesitant they're like, wait, I have this card that, you know, how does this work? And it's just going to automatically, you know, deduct money from it. And, you know, it's just a whole new concept that people didn't really understand at first. And it took a while for it to catch on. To the point where, you know, who uses checks anymore? You know, credit card, debit cards is ubiquitous. And, you know, it's the same thing. The same thing with smartphones. When smartphones first came out, you had like the Palm and, you know, like the Windows CE phones, which were big and bulky and clunky.
I remember my old Palm Trio. God, that thing.
Exactly. You know, and it's just, we have these iterations of technology, you know, and especially now with computers involved in these iterations, we're iterating at a faster and faster rate. So, you know, what used to take 10 years for implementation is now taking 5 years. And, you know, that's just has to do with, you know, Moore's law and the rate at which, you know, technology is advancing these days.
Yeah. I me's exponential. You just keep building more tools that help you become more efficient, and it just constantly grows. And eventually you hit, you know, there's a term for it, and I can't think of what the term is, but you hit that maximum point where you have to have that new paradigm shift before you can start improving again. Mm-hmm. You know, you reach the limitations of your existing architecture / infrastructure / tools that you have at your disposal, and you have to move on to the next step. And blockchain is absolutely that next step for a lot of industries. There are so many things that are going to be improved by the ability for machines to transact in a totally trusted way. You know, a trustless system, but you can totally trust the outcome of it because it's math. If you can trust the math, you can trust it.
Yep.
Now, there's always bad actors, and there's always going to be issues. And, you know, we're still humans building these things. So there's still going to be problems that we run into, but that's all part of the growth. And I don't know, I think it's going to be an exciting thing. So that said, I'm kind of curious, what is like the favorite story that you have of buying something with crypto? What's the most interesting thing that you've bought with crypto?
That's a good question. Let me think about that. I mean, I bought hotel rooms and tickets and stuff like that. Even with Bravo, you know, we've exchanged Bravo with friends, but I'm trying to think of other cool things that I purchased. Oh, okay. I know what I bought. I had bought a 950 Ti GeForce graphics card with some of the profits from my initial winnings from those couple of Bitcoins I bought at $200. And I ended up spending, it was like the equivalent now of like $2,000 on that card if I had held on to the Bitcoin. But I was like, hey, you know, it was almost like free money. I was like, hey, I'm just going to upgrade my video card. So I took some of those winnings and I upgraded the card. And I mean, but it's the same thing, you know, like we talk about now, like if you got to spend it, you got to utilize it, or else we're not going to get to that mass adoption, you know, state. But I can see where people come from. Like, well, you know, if you had held on to that, you would have had $2,000 extra instead of the $150 video card that you bought.
Right. But at the same time, like, where do you draw the line? Because I mean, I first heard of Bitcoin in 2010, not to the extent of like actually knowing what it was, but I was buying and selling stuff on Craigslist, and somebody was trying to trade some stuff for Bitcoin, and I spent 10 seconds looking it up, thought it just looked like crap, and that was it. But I knew it existed, and so I always go back and I'm like, damn it, if I would have just looked closer, I could have bought all the Bitcoins and been the richest man in the world. But I could have bought 5 million Bitcoins at a penny, and I'd have sold them at 2 cents.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, that's a common tweet that you see online where the guy's like, you know, Bitcoin's at 8 cents, you know, and now it's at 32 cents. And he's like, you know, it sucks that I sold that at 8 cents. So, you know, you're always going to have that mindset. You know, another thing that I kind of kicked myself for is I had this software as a service business, and I had multiple overseas customers, a lot of them from like Asia and China, that wanted to pay me for services in Bitcoin. And I was super hesitant to accept it because it was so volatile. And I was like, no, I don't feel like cashing it out, and I don't want to, take the risk on of the drops and, playing with the volatility. And I had like one guy who like begged me for it. And actually this kind of almost pushed me into this direction in 2016 to really, start going towards it more. And I said, okay, you know what? I'll accept your Bitcoin payment, but you need to give me a 15% premium on it to account for potential volatility. And he was like, okay, we can work that out. And, I to this day, I'm like, man, if I just had started to accept more and more Bitcoin back then, who knows? But then who knows? Maybe Bravocoin wouldn't be around. So yeah, there's stories like that. I actually, when I worked at GoDaddy, this is an interesting story. So this was before like ASICs were really out and everyone was still doing like GPU and CPU mining. So we had, GoDaddy, we have hundreds of thousands of servers and systems in our data centers. And there was an employee there, a colleague of ours, who worked on the like the ticketing and like the ERP systems, like internal ERP and ticketing systems that all the different GoDaddy groups would use. And they operated like quite a bit of like server farms for this. And one day he like got called in and he got let go that same day. And they found that he was mining Bitcoin on like thousands of these ERP and ticket system servers and just like hiding it and just like, keeping the Bitcoin himself. And they ended up firing him, getting rid of him. And at the time, Bitcoin was only like a couple $100. And I remember, he was an engineer. He had a like $100,000 6-figure engineer position at GoDaddy. And at that time, we were like, you're so stupid. You made like $5,000 mining Bitcoin and threw away $100,000, engineering job at a top tier company. And we like kind of like laughed at that and laughed him out of the room. But I think about that now. We actually did the math when Bitcoin hit its peak. When a couple of my colleagues were like, "Man, what did he earn back then when he mined all these coins?" And we actually figured out that he probably mined around. So Bitcoin was like, I think it was like $100 around that time period. So he actually mined around like 500 coins around that time period. And we thought he was like really stupid for doing it. But if you think about that now, if he held on to them, that could be quite the profit. But who knows? I haven't heard from him since, but always an interesting story.
You never know. If you ever run into him, I would like to know the answer.
I'm curious. And, if anyone is scouring through, who works at GoDaddy, scouring through the GoDaddy backups on the tape drives or whatever, you may find a couple of hidden Bitcoin wallets in there. Who knows? The
real question is, does he have some sort of an anonymous Twitter account and we've all been interacting with him this whole time?
Who knows? Yeah. Maybe he's like Crypto Lord or one of these,
right. There's so
Charles
many of them.
and you don't even know. And it's this guy who I used to work with. But yeah, exactly. I would assume he probably got rid of them and dumped them. But yeah, if you think about it now, he literally was we figured out he was able to mine based on like that hashing rate that he had, about 400 to 500 coins, we suspect.
That's crazy. Awesome. That is awesome. So what was the last way that you purchased crypto yourself? What was the last method that you used? And what method do you prefer?
Actually, the last method I used was Coinbase before they did their fee increase. So,
okay.
I mean, from a usability standpoint, from like for like users, I would say Coinbase is probably the easiest route. I would say Coinbase, Cash App is super easy. Robinhood is easy, but Robinhood is custodial, so they don't give you your keys or anything. They kind of just like show you what you're holding, and then you could buy and sell it, but you can't really transact with it or withdraw it from your wallet. So yeah, I would say those are probably the easiest onboarding methods, I would say, for people who aren't familiar with crypto. And even though like Coinbase has high fees and stuff like that, I still push new users to Coinbase just because it's the user experience and it's very easy to transact with. It's very easy to use. And a user isn't really gonna, a novice user who's just getting into it, if they're gonna pay an extra $1 or $2 on the transaction, they don't care. I mean, it's the user experience and the GUI and that whole setup that I feel is more enticing for a novice user.
Sure. The way I've started actually indoctrinating people, so to speak, if they want to get into crypto, is actually directing them to ATMs, like coin flip ATMs. Mm-hmm. And the reason is they don't need a bank account, number one, to do it. All they need is a phone. And if you have a phone, you can download a wallet. And if you can download a wallet, you can buy crypto at an ATM and put it right into your wallet.
I like that too. I just feel like for a brand new user, I feel like they would still need to have like a friend or someone who's familiar with the process to walk them through it.
I think that's beneficial for anybody, really. If you're getting into crypto, you might want to grab hold of somebody that's in it and try and learn from them, because you'll make a headway a lot quicker than trying to do it yourself.
Oh, absolutely. And then hopefully you don't have to go through the exercise of losing your coins, which I'm sure you and I have all, and everyone else has all been through at least once.
In one fashion or
we've
another,
all sent the
yes.
coins to the wrong address at some point.
Sent the coins to the wrong address, deleted. Even to this day, I mean, and this is why I still talk about is how this industry, we really need to progress and advance. I mean, even 6 months ago, I wasn't thinking about it. I formatted my my MacBook, and I forgot a bit. I had a MetaMask on there with not much. It had like $30 in ETH, and maybe I'm actually more upset that I lost my digital NFT racing horse, truthfully, because I had a super cool Zed racing horse from one of the third round or second round that they released them. And I actually forgot to, I don't know what I did with those keys. I didn't back them up or something. I screwed up and I formatted. I was in a rush one day. And then when I got back onto, the new OS, I was like, oh crap, I didn't back up my MetaMask. So I mean, if I'm doing this and I'm messing up, you have to realize that, obviously novices, just people who are never done this before, are completely going to screw this process up. So like I said, we just need to improve the process and make it easier for, the average user to be onboarded into this system.
Yeah, I mean, one of the hardest parts of that is finding a way to balance that usability with non-custodial type situations, because there's a few out there that are non-custodial apps that have a somewhat decent user interface. It's pretty simple, but you still have that little bit of complication of managing the keys, because that's really the only way that you can have a truly non-custodial situation right now is to have your own keys, and that requires you understanding what a private key is. Yep. And until we can totally abstract that out, we still have that problem. So I know there's a lot of places working on it, but I think there's some more foundational infrastructure that needs to be built before we can get there.
So we are actually implementing a new key recovery system. We call it a multi-factor key recovery system for Bravocoin. So as we've released Bravocoin, we've kind of gone through a couple of different iterations with the private keys and seeing what works and what doesn't. When we first released Bravo, we gave users their private keys. We gave them a screen saying, hey, with a checkbox that it wouldn't allow them to continue, that said, make sure you back up your key. If you lose this, you lose everything. We can't restore your account, so on and so forth. And people are just click happy and just fly through these onboarding, these setup screens. And we would get messages 2 or 3 weeks later from different users saying, hey, can you reset my private key for me? I don't know what I did with this thing. And I'd have to send them a screenshot and say, you agreed to the screen saying that you backed it all up. We don't back it up. We don't have your private keys. It's lost. It's gone. And they'd be like, oh, I didn't really read it, or I just kind of clicked OK and wasn't mindful of what it said. So then we came out with another iteration where you had to verify specific characters. It would pick 2 random characters for your private key. Be like, what's the third to the last and your second character of your private key? And then until you got that right, it would give you a little quiz. It wouldn't allow you to continue to ensure that you backed up your keys. And even still, we still had issues with users that would lose their their private keys. Even doing this. And then we put in other screens and warning screens and so on and so forth that there's no way to restore. We don't have any of this data. And even still, we still occasionally have users that lose their private keys. So we started to think about how we could go about and remedy this issue, because it's not just our platform. It's like you said, this is prevalent across the industry. And if we're going to bring on casual users in the space, we really need to tackle the private key issue and make it seamless and a lot easier for users to come on board. And almost very similar to the current systems, that if you lose your key or you lose your password, that you have to have some way to reset it or some way to access it. But the whole problem is that if you want to be able to reset it, or you want to be able to access it, you need to have a system that knows what your key is, or knows how to access your key. So what we've started to do is we now have we're implementing we call it our multi-factor key recovery system. So basically now when you sign up and you're issued a private key, it's going to allow you to create custom questions that we don't know with custom answers that we don't know as well. And then basically it's going to use that data to create a custom hash of your private key. And then that's going to be stored remotely. So then basically we don't know what your private key is. We don't even know what's encrypted with, your keys or your answers or anything like that. All we know is that, hey, there's an encrypted string that's at this address online. And then basically if a user wants to restore, or they want to be able to, get back to their keys, we can send them this encrypted string. They then have to decrypt it utilizing their answers and their questions, that their custom answers and questions that they answered. And if they enter in the wrong information, it's not going to come out correctly. It's going to still be scrambled. But if they enter in the correct information, it will decrypt it for them, and then they'll be able to have their key.
Basically just kind of like a password manager for your private keys, just storing a salted hash and then.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Like LastPass or something like that. So LastPass, you lose your password, you lose everything that's in there, but at least, it's cloud, it's on the cloud. It's online that you can access it still, even though it's encrypted. So that's what we're kind of talking about now. We actually have an implementation in our beta build that's utilizing this method. And we think that's going to be a much better solution, a much better system.
Awesome. All right. So not to take this off the rails, but we're going to take this off the rails.
Okay.
If any wild animal of your choice could live and roam freely in your neighborhood, which animal would it be? Or rather, which animal would you want it to be?
I would say now, probably koalas and kangaroos after what's been going on with Australia. I like to see them moving around and swinging around on the trees here. I think that'd be pretty cool. Even though we don't have very many trees, it'd be cactus. So maybe koala cacti or cactus koalas.
There we go. Cactus koalas. Very nice. Very nice. Good answer.
Like it. Yeah, it is. Very good answer. So tell me, what events do you guys plan on attending this year? Do you have any lined up?
Yeah, so we're going to be at ETH Denver next month. I think it's the 14th through the 16th. That's a super cool conference. I don't know if you guys have ever attended that, but it's really like actually, it's one of my favorite conferences, I have to say. Not only is it's free, basically you can you stake ETH with them, like anywhere from like $20 to $500, and then there's like different levels of admission. But you get it all back at the end. So basically, their basic ticket is like $20. You stake $20 of ETH with them, and then when you go and you check in to the conference, it verifies that that you've checked in, and it'll actually release your ETH back to you. And they give you like some swag and some other cool stuff. But it's really like a homegrown, like grassroots. I feel like it's like boots on the ground. People who are really into blockchain, really into development, really into like furthering the ecosystem attend this conference. As opposed to like some of the other conferences I've been to are like maybe a little bit more commercial. You have like the banks and like the financiers and stuff like that, or the people that are kind of just like showy. I feel like ETH is kind of like really like the ethos of what like blockchain and like the open source community, should be. And what's super cool is last year they had their own stable coin that they minted there that only worked at the conference. So it was like tied to DAI, and it was tied to a DAI and Maker. And they gave you like $50 and you could use the stable coin at any of the food trucks that were there, any of like the swag booths. And basically, you would like scan it, it's like your crypto wallet. You had your own little crypto wallet there with your own stable coins that would work, only within the conference. But you can go around, you can get like a cheesesteak at the food truck, and then, get like, a shirt or like a beanie at like the swag store. And it was cool. And it was all like, it was all comp because it was all, for this conference is 100% free, but it really showed you like where we can go as like, like an industry, and like where these conferences can, should be, and, utilizing and harnessing this technology within the conference itself. I think is super powerful just to show like the use case of how this can all work. I compare that to like Consensus. So I went to Consensus last year, and Consensus is like the biggest Ethereum conference in the nation or in the world. And, they had these like NFTs, and PAX had like some stable coins they were giving out, and all these, things that were going on. And, I went up to the booth and I was like, hey, how do I redeem? How do I get all this stuff? And they're like, oh, we have a Google Docs spreadsheet that you got to insert your Ethereum wallet address into. And then we have someone who manually goes in and checks it all, and they'll send you your NFTs or send you your stuff. And I was like, what is this, like 1996? We have like a CSV spreadsheet that we're entering in data. This should all be like an automated, and utilizing the technology that we're professing and talking about to obtain and achieve these things. So I thought that was kind of interesting that, like Consensus had like this antiquated model for, getting any like type of like ETH or ERC20 or NFT item when ETH Denver had like this really cool setup.
That's awesome. It seems like a lot of the stuff that I've been missing in all the conferences we've been going to, because, like you say, you always get those ones that it's all the investment side, or just all the projects there to show their stuff. And you end up not getting very many developers or just advocates for adoption and just more of those suits and stuff. And it's fun. I mean, it's always a good time, but sometimes you just want to go and hang out with the devs and just bullshit about that and get lost in the technology and not be thinking about how you're going to make your next $20 million on whatever ICO they're trying to shill.
Yeah, ETH Denver is definitely like that. I mean, like they actually had like a hackathon groups, and they actually had, I think it was like 1 or 2 floors that was literally just filled with devs, all just with their heads down, conversing with each other. They had different projects, with signs up at their booths, and like, it was IPFS group was talking to this other group, and if you had an issue with IPFS, they said, come to us and talk to us. We'll help you through your IPFS issues, and help you with your development. And it was really cool to like see this like environment of just everyone. It really reminded me of like, like I said, I come from like Linux and open source environment of just everyone collaborating together and sharing their code bases and helping each other out and ensuring, this is what we need to further adoption in this industry. And it's just nice to see that, you see a lot of the animosity that exists in like crypto between like the Bitcoin maximalists and like, and any other coin out there. And I just feel like it's unhealthy. If we want to advance this space, everyone should be working together and helping each other because we all have the same common goal.
Seriously, it doesn't make sense to me. The clicks are just ridiculous.
No, that's just ridiculous. I mean, come on, grow up. Whatever. We could go on and on for that. That frustrates the heck out of me.
Yeah, seriously, it is.
It's just like high school, and sometimes I wonder, how far out of high school some of these people actually are.
Yeah.
Honestly, the sad part is a lot of them might not have even been to high school.
I see the younger generation. Well, first of all, the younger generation now, you grow up with a smartphone in your hand. So I mean, they already are. I feel this younger generation probably isn't really going to have bank accounts. I would say people born 5 to 10 years from now are not going to have a bank account, in my opinion. I think it's all going to be crypto or digital based, and they're never going to go to a bank in their life. So I feel like that's kind of where everything's moving, and to get this new generation, I feel like these kids and this new generation, I feel that blockchain gaming is going to suck them in. And I don't know if you heard, like Samsung has this new phone that came out, and it has this new like strategy game that's built on Ethereum that you can play, where you can actually like earn coins for beating your opponents. And I feel like that's like the future, and that's how we're gonna get like the masses and like this gaming community into it. And I feel like the gaming community is like the perfect demographic to segue into blockchain and to segue into crypto.
So if you're working for a bank right now, you might want to get out of there and find a different job because your days are numbered. Sorry.
Or convince your bank to just trash the US dollar and just implement Bitcoin completely.
I think there's I definitely think there's a lot of industries where your days are numbered, and there's automation and blockchain and AI. It's gonna automate you out of a job is what's gonna happen.
Yep. And the nice thing is that it will create more other jobs. There's just going to be all kinds of weird jobs. Every technology does. And that's the thing that you always see it. Some people adapt and some people don't.
Mm-hmm. So, yep. And it's those companies that don't adapt that, become antiquated and they go out of business. And you see that all the time. You see it with Blockbuster. You see it even with like Intel now. Intel didn't get into the mobile revolution quick enough. You think about how Intel processors are ubiquitous in every single server and PC and laptop system, but in handheld devices, it's ARM. ARM has the stronghold on that.
Yep.
And it's when you're these big behemoth companies and you don't see. You're too slow to react to changes, and you're not agile enough to adapt and adopt. That's when you're left the wayside. You become antiquated and you go out of business as a result.
I think part of it's because they get so complacent on the success that they've had that they don't. It's almost like a construction company. You have a ton of work in front of you on the books. You stop bidding. Mm-hmm. Right? You stop bidding new work. And it's the same thing for most corporations. When they're successful and they get tied up into that success that they're having, they don't necessarily think about, oh shit, we got to keep up,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So then exactly what you said happens. Adam, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I really see myself entrenched in blockchain and the crypto industry. And, we have some other solutions that we're coming up with that we feel that can further the space. And really, our whole objective and why we created Bravocoin is that, like I said, we wanted to create, not only did we want to help mom and pop businesses, and kind of change like the ecosystem around and make it more fair for this environment, But our main goal and what we really want to do is that we wanted to bring users into crypto and into this ecosystem. So, whatever that may be, whether it's easy to use applications, easy to use games, stuff like that, is transparent, and not complex for the average casual user to pick up. I really see, that's where we advance, and that's where Bravocoin is going to move forward. So whether that's via, some of our social gamification that we're implementing via our proof of location devices, or, potentially, AR stuff that we're going to put into Bravo. We feel that, having these incentivized social media type of platforms built on blockchain is really going to take off. And really that's a great way to, kind of draw people into this industry, in a way where they don't have to put up their own capital.
No, exactly. It's really going to be interesting how it used to grow and how, crypto is continuing to be adopted. I really, like I said before when we started, I really enjoy using your platform. I enjoy using Bravocoin. I think it's beneficial. Read reviews from real people than go into, say, Yelp and not so sure. I mean, so many reviews anymore and different platforms are just so twisted, like even amplifying reviews for something that aren't even for that same product. You click on the review and it's not even that product. And you're like, what are you doing?
Yep.
Or you get the best ones up front and then you have to keep scrolling down to like the ones that are legit, right? So, there's something to be said about that. Really looking forward to watching you guys grow and being a part of it. Adam, thank you so much for coming on the show, bud.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
I look forward to seeing you at the next event, whatever one that may be.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can see you guys in East Denver. And if not, maybe a conference after that.
Might have to. I'm only like 12 hours from Denver.
It's definitely a good conference. I highly recommend it. Maybe we can even do a podcast if we're out there. We'll do a live show there.
Totally. Yeah, I'll let you know if I'm going to make it.
All right. Sounds good, guys.
Awesome.
I appreciate
Thanks
it.
for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Take care.
Yep. Bye-bye.
That was a good one. I must admit, though, I still have not installed the Bravocoin app.
Really?
Yeah. You've been telling me about it for, we met them or at least the booth in Vegas, and you've been telling me about it since a little bit before that, and I still haven't done it, but I guess I better make that happen like right now.
It's just, it's not, it's really easy to use, really easy to figure out, and just start doing reviews, it's real, like I said, it's super easy to figure out. If you got any questions, actually, if you haven't signed up yet, maybe I'll send you my code.
There you go.
We'll both get free Bravocoin.
Nice. I'll take some free Bravocoin. We'll give it a shot.
There you go.
I bet I'm going to like it.
Send it to you.
It sounds like he's doing things the way that we would love them to do things.
Yeah.
Focusing on adoption, focusing on the interface, and also on a non-custodial setup so that you can help ensure the security of your users and make sure they own their keys.
Exactly. Definitely a project I could get behind. There you go. For sure.
Also, check out coinflip.tech. They've got a map on their website. You can take a look and see if there's a CoinFlip ATM in your area. If there is, go out and try it out. Maybe take a video of it and post it on Twitter and tag us. We'd like to hear what you think about it.
And be sure to download the Bravo app and do a review on it.
There you go.
Heck yeah. Earn some free Bravo while you're enjoying it.
Bravo.
Easy to do. Yeah. I love the app. So, all right, guys, you have yourselves a good evening or day or whichever it happens to be, and we will talk to you soon.
Take it easy.
Peace.